Hello, and welcome to the Negotiating in Asia template. Before we dive into the details of this template, let me introduce myself first. My name is Aleksandra Panic, and I'm the head of product at Procurement Tactics. I'm thrilled that you're here. The team at Procurement Tactics has over 20 years of experience in procurement and negotiations. Let's delay this no further. We have been working on providing you with a template to navigate negotiations when dealing with individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds. Today, we'll focus on negotiating in Asia, and I will assist you through the process. Let's start by defining what culture is. Culture is a shared generational identity among a group of people that influences the way they think, act, and interact with others. Since culture plays a big role in shaping a person, their decisions, and behaviors, it also significantly shapes how they handle their business matters and negotiations. A person's culture informs us about their negotiation goals and how they manage their negotiations, along with various other aspects of their behavior. Today, we will be talking about Asian cultures specifically. Many Asian cultures like China, South Korea, and Japan are known to be collectivistic cultures, prioritizing collective good over individual goals and emphasizing the rights of the community above personal goals. This means that they lean towards togetherness, duty, and achievements of group goals while tending to avoid conflicts and achieve compromise. This is important to note when exploring Asian culture. Now a short disclaimer. In our pursuit to teach you about the culture, we acknowledge that although it is a significant factor, we cannot attribute everything solely on cultural differences. Now that we've set that clear, let's dive into it. Have you ever wondered about Asia's cultural patterns and negotiation styles? Well, if you have, then it's your lucky day because we'll be discussing all this and beyond. An important thing to establish beforehand is that Asian culture is heavily influenced by religion, and so is their negotiation style. This shows certain concepts also present in their business culture, such as guangxi in Chinese culture and senpai kohai in Japanese culture. Generally, Asian business practices prioritize time, hierarchy, deference to authority, and the cultivation of strong interpersonal connections. Maintaining face or preserving reputation is also prominent in Asian business cultures. Moreover, business dealings in many Asian societies unfold gradually, emphasizing on establishing trust and fellowship before engaging in substantive discussions. Let's start with their values. Seniority, authority, and the prioritization of time are of the utmost importance. Asian cultures tend to give more value to those with more seniority and authority, to the point where objectivity in making decisions may even be obscured. They also see their time as personal and valuable, which makes punctuality an important practice. This applies to both business culture and their culture in general. Let's turn to their manners and customs. As much as possible, when you're holding negotiations in Asia, it's better to be mindful of their manners and customs so you don't make any unintentional offenses. An example is the importance of greetings in Asian cultures, such as the traditional namaste in India or bowing in Japan or South Korea, which serve as gestures of respect. What about their ways of thinking? Erin Meyer, who wrote a book about Culture Map, says that the key feature in Asian thinking is focusing on the overall situation. Due to this emphasis, Asian culture tends to prioritize the bigger picture and fosters long-term relationships. This approach is seen as beneficial for both parties in the long run. This leads us to their relationship building style. Negotiations in businesses are slow-paced because they're selective of their partnerships and look for long-term relationships. Now, with those finished, let's focus on their negotiation style. Asian negotiators usually employ a cooperative negotiation style, but they can also use the distributive negotiation style, or use a collaborative joint quest method, seeking mutual value through subtle exchanges. For the preparation of Asian negotiations, keep in mind these 4 things. Think long term. Second, keep out the communication gaps. Third, know your intention and conclusions. And fourth, know the value of long-term relationships. These are all significant for your negotiation needs, especially when dealing in negotiations in Asia. After a general overview of Asian culture and negotiation, let's introduce the 3 chosen countries we're focusing on. First is Japan. Japanese negotiators put a high value in relationships and are group-oriented. Before closing any deals with you, there must be already an existing relationship. This is a bit difficult to do because Japanese negotiators prefer to take their time in relationship building. Negotiations tend to be slow with them, and they expect relationships to be mutually beneficial. When having negotiations with them, please do. Regularly keep in touch. Be respectful, trustworthy, and humble. Speak in short and simple sentences. Bring a translator. And be flexible and creative. And please don't single out Japanese members in front of the group for praise or criticism. Requesting favors without an established relationship, wide and open gestures, using hands when speaking, or display private behavior in public. Next is South Korea. According to Daniela Fjellstrom, who conducted a case study on factors that influence negotiations, South Koreans like to have a clear vision and mission, strong ambition, and rapid decision-making, as well as clear implementation of plans and commitment. When negotiating with South Koreans, communication can sometimes be indirect. You need to read between the lines, as their no and yes can mean a lot of things depending on how they behave. For instance, a maybe accompanied with a squinting of eyes or tipping the back of the head can mean no. When negotiating with them, please do. Point out the benefits in negotiations. Protect your intellectual properties. Participate in haggling and bargaining. Read between the lines and be punctual. Please do not react with anger, make significant concessions, appear too relaxed or too casual, and rush into negotiation processes. The last one is China. Chinese negotiators also like long-term relationships, tend to be competitive, and appear fierce over small gains. Due to these reasons, the process of information sharing can take over months or years. According to Dr. Li Xingshang from Xuanshan University, a typical Chinese negotiator is quiet during negotiations and often finds loud and talkative people to be immature. When it comes to bargaining, they set a high price before slowly making concessions. When having negotiations with them, please do. Protect your intellectual property. Be careful of the information you share. Be patient, show little emotion and accept delays, and verify information beforehand. On the other hand, please do not show irritation and anger, announce any offer as final, or use emotional techniques. In this template, we have given you a general overview of Asian culture and how this affects their negotiation styles. Remember, Asian cultures emphasize religion, hierarchy, and building long-term relationships in business practices. However, culture is not the only factor influencing negotiation outcomes and behaviors. Although culture is a big influence, make sure to also do the research on the individual or group that you're going to negotiate with to maximize your advantages. There is certainly no doubt that Asia has various kinds of cultures and negotiation styles, which is why we have been working on creating templates for different kinds of cultures. If you want to know more about this topic, please make sure to check out our Cultural Impact on Negotiations course. Remember, it only can benefit you to be prepared. Thank you for exploring how Asian cultures influences negotiations and outcomes with us. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you learned some tips on how to manage negotiations when working with counterparts from the Asian culture.